Chapter 15 of Lyrical Ballads 1798 by Samuel Taylor Coleridge and William Wordsworth. This is in the public domain. Verity Kendall. The Mad Mother. Her eyes are wild, her head is bare, the sun has burnt her coal black hair, her eyebrows have a rusty stain, and she came far from over the main. She has a baby on her arm, or else she were alone, and under the haystack warm, and on the greenwood stone. She talked and sung the woods among, and it was in the English tongue. Sweet babe, they say that I am mad, but nay, my heart is far too glad, and I am happy when I sing, full many a sad and doleful thing. Then, lovely baby, do not fear, I pray thee have no fear of me, but safe as in a cradle here, my lovely baby thou shalt be. To thee I know too much I owe, I cannot work thee any woe. A fire was once within my brain, and in my head a dull pain, and fiendish faces 1, 2, 3 hung at my breasts and pulled at me, and then there came a sight of joy, it came at once to do me good. I waked and saw my little boy of flesh and blood. Oh joy for me that sight to see, for he was here and only he. Suck, little babe, oh suck again, it cools my blood, it cools my brain. Thy lips, I feel them, baby, they draw from my heart the pain away. Oh press me with thy little hand, it loosens something at my chest. About that tight and deadly band, I feel thy little fingers pressed. The breeze I see is in the tree, it comes to cool my babe and me. Oh love me, little boy, thou art thy mother's only joy, and do not dread the waves below. When o'er the sea rock's edge we go, the high crag cannot work me harm, nor leaping torrents when they howl. The babe I carry on my arm, he saves for me my precious soul. Then happy life, for blessed am I, without me my sweet babe would die. Then do not fear, my little boy, for thee bold as a lion I will be, and I will always be thy guide through hollow snows and rivers wide. I'll build an Indian bower, I know, the leaves that make the softest bed, and if from me thou wilt not go, but still be true till I am dead, my pretty thing, then thou shalt sing as merry as the birds in spring. Thy father cares not for my breast, 'tis thine, sweet babe, there to rest. 'Tis all thine own, and if its hue be changed that was so far to view, 'tis fair enough for thee, my dove, my beauty, little child, is flown. But thou wilt live with me in love, and what if my poor cheek is brown? 'Tis well for me, thou canst not see how plain and wan it else would be. Dread not their taunts, my little life, I am thy father's wedded wife, and underneath the spreading tree we two did live in honesty. If his sweet boy he could forsake, with me he never would have stayed. For him no harm my babe can take, for he, poor man, is wretched made, and every day we two will pray for him that's gone and far away. I'll teach my boy the sweetest things, I'll teach him how the owlet sings. My little babe, thy lips are still, hast thou almost sucked thy fill? Where art thou gone, my own dear child? What wicked looks are these I see? Alas, alas, that look so wild, it never came from me. If thou art mad, my pretty lad, then I must be for ever sad. Oh smile on me, my little lamb, for I thy own dear mother am. My love for thee has well been tried, I sought thy father far and wide. I know the poisons of the shade, I know the earth nuts fit for food. Then pretty dear, be not afraid, we'll find thy father in the wood. Now laugh and be gay to the woods away, and there my babe will live for aye. End of The Mad Mother. Verity Kendall. Chapter 16 of Lyrical Ballads 1798 by Samuel Taylor Coleridge and William Wordsworth. This is in the public domain. Verity Kendall. The Idiot Boy. 'Tis 8 o'clock, a clear March night, the moon is up, the sky is blue, the owlet in the moonlight air, he shouts from nobody knows where. He lengthens out his lonely shout, halloo, halloo, a long halloo. Why bustle fuss about your door? What means this bustle, Betty Foy? Why are you in this mighty fret? And why on horseback have you set him whom you love, your idiot boy? Beneath the moon that shines so bright, till she is tired, let Betty Foy with girt and stirrup fiddle faddle, but wherefore set upon a saddle him whom she loves, her idiot boy? There's scarce a soul that's out of bed, good Betty, put him down again. His lips with joy they burr at you, but Betty, what has he to do with stirrup, saddle, or with rein? The world will say 'tis very idle, bethink you of the time of night. There's not a mother, no not one, but when she hears what you have done, oh Betty, she'll be in a fright. But Betty's bent on her intent, for her good neighbour Susan Gale. Old Susan, she who dwells alone, is sick and makes a piteous moan, as if her very life would fail. There's not a house within a mile, no hand to help them in distress. Old Susan lies abed in pain, and sorely puzzled are the twain, for what she ails they cannot guess. And Betty's husband at the wood, where by the week he doth abide, a woodman in the distant vale, there's none to help poor Susan Gale. What must be done, what will betide? And Betty from the lane has fetched her pony that is mild and good, whether he be in joy or pain, feeding at will along the lane, or bringing faggots from the wood. And he is all in travelling trim, and by the moonlight Betty Foy has up upon the saddle set, the like was never heard of yet, him whom she loves, her idiot boy. And he must post without delay across the bridge that's in the dale, and by the church and o'er the down, to bring a doctor from the town, or she will die, old Susan Gale. There is no need of boot or spur, there is no need of whip or wand, for Johnny has his holly bough, and with a hurly-burly now, he shakes the green bough in his hand. And Betty o'er and o'er has told the boy who is her best delight, both what to follow, what to shun, what to do, and what to leave undone, how turn to left and how to right. And Betty's most especial charge was, Johnny, Johnny, mind that you come home again, nor stop at all. Come home again, whate'er befall. My Johnny, do, I pray you do. To this did Johnny answer make, both with his head and with his hand, and proudly shook the bridle too. And then his words were not a few, which Betty well could understand. And now that Johnny is just going, though Betty's in a mighty flurry, she gently pats the pony's side, on which her idiot boy must ride, and seems no longer in a hurry. But when the pony moved his legs, oh then for the poor idiot boy, for joy he cannot hold the bridle, for joy his head and heels are idle, he's idle all for very joy. And while the pony moves his legs, in Johnny's left hand you might see the green boughs motionless and dead. The moon that shines above his head is not more still and mute than he. His heart it was so full of glee, that till full 50 yards were gone, he quite forgot his holly whip, and all his skill in horsemanship. Oh happy, happy, happy John! And Betty's standing at the door, and Betty's face with joy o'erflows, proud of herself and proud of him. She sees him in his travelling trim, how quietly her Johnny goes. The silence of her idiot boy, what hopes it sends to Betty's heart. He's at the guide-post, he turns right, she watches till he's out of sight, and Betty will not then depart. Burr, burr, now Johnny's lips they burr, as loud as any mill, or near it. Meek as a lamb the pony moves, and Johnny makes the noise he loves, and Betty listens, glad to hear it. Away she hies to Susan Gale, and Johnny's in a merry tune. The owlets hoop, the owlets curr, and Johnny's lips they burr, 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 and on he goes beneath the moon. His steed and he right well agree, for of this pony there's a rumour, that should he lose his eyes and ears, and should he live 1,000 years, he never will be out of humour. But then he is a horse that thinks, and when he thinks his pace is slack. Now though he knows poor Johnny well, yet for his life he cannot tell what he has got upon his back. So through the moonlight lanes they go, and far into the moonlight dale, and by the church and o'er the down, to bring a doctor from the town, to comfort poor old Susan Gale. And Betty, now at Susan's side, is in the middle of her story, what comfort Johnny soon will bring, with many a most diverting thing, of Johnny's wit and Johnny's glory. And Betty still at Susan's side, by this time she's not quite so flurried, demure with porringer and plate, she sits as if in Susan's fate, her life and soul were buried. But Betty, poor good woman, she, you plainly in her face may read it, could lend out of that moment's store 5 years of happiness or more, to any that might need it. But yet I guess that now and then, with Betty all was not so well, and to the road she turns her ears, and thence full many a sound she hears, which she to Susan will not tell. Poor Susan moans, poor Susan groans, as sure as there's a moon in heaven, cries Betty, he'll be back again. They'll both be here, 'tis almost 10, they'll both be here before 11. Poor Susan moans, poor Susan groans, the clock gives warning for 11. 'Tis on the stroke, if Johnny's near, quoth Betty, he will soon be here, as soon as there's a moon in heaven. The clock is on the strike of 12, and Johnny is not yet in sight. The moon's in heaven as Betty sees, but Betty is not quite at ease, and Susan has a dreadful night. And Betty half an hour ago on Johnny's vile reflections cast, a little idle sauntering thing, with other names an endless string, but now that time is gone and past, and Betty's drooping at the heart, that happy time all past and gone. How can it be he is so late? The doctor has made him wait. Susan, they'll both be here anon. And Susan's growing worse and worse, and Betty's in a sad quandary, and then there's no one to say if she must go or she must stay. She's in a sad quandary. The clock is on the stroke of 1, and neither doctor nor his guide appear along the moonlight road. There's neither horse nor man abroad, and Betty's still at Susan's side. And Susan, she begins to fear of sad mischances not a few, that Johnny may perhaps be drowned, or lost perhaps and never found, which they must both for ever rue. She prefaced half a hint of this with God forbid it should be true. At the first words that Susan said, cried Betty, rising from the bed, Susan, I'd gladly stay with you. I must be gone, I must away. Consider, Johnny's but half wise. Susan, we must take care of him. If he is hurt in life or limb, oh God forbid, poor Susan cries. What can I do, says Betty going, what can I do to ease your pain? Good Susan, tell me, and I'll stay. I fear you're in a dreadful way, but I shall soon be back again. Good Betty, go, good Betty, go. There's nothing that can ease my pain. Then off she hies, but with a prayer that God poor Susan's life would spare, till she comes back again. So through the moonlight lane she goes, and far into the moonlight dale, and how she ran, and how she walked, and all that to herself she taught, would surely be a tedious tale. In high and low, above, below, in great and small, in round and square, in tree and tower was Johnny seen, in bush and brake, in black and green, 'twas Johnny, Johnny everywhere. She passed the bridge that's in the dale, and now the thought torments her sore, Johnny perhaps his horse forsook, to hunt the moon that's in the brook, and never will be heard of more. And now she's high upon the down, alone amid a prospect wide, there's neither Johnny nor his horse, among the fern or in the gorse, there's neither doctor nor his guide. Oh saints, what is become of him? Perhaps he's climbed into an oak, where he will stay till he is dead, or sadly he has been misled, and joined the wandering gipsy folk. Or him that wicked pony's carried to the dark cave, the goblin's hall, or in the castle he's pursuing, among the ghosts his own undoing, or playing with the waterfall. At poor old Susan then she railed, while to the town she posts away. If Susan had not been so ill, alas, I should have had him still, my Johnny, till my dying day. Poor Betty, in this sad distemper, the doctor's self would hardly spare. Unworthy things she talked and wild, even he of cattle the most wild, the pony had his share. And now she's got into the town, and to the doctor's door she hies. 'Tis silence all on every side, the town so long, the town so wide, is silent as the skies. And now she's at the doctor's door, she lifts the knocker, rap, rap, rap. The doctor at the casement shews his glimmering eyes that peep and doze, and one hand rubs his old nightcap. Oh, doctor, doctor, where's my Johnny? I'm here, what is't you want from me? Oh, sir, you know I'm Betty Foy, and I have lost my poor dear boy. You know him you often see. He's not so wise as some folks be, the devil takes his wisdom, said the doctor, looking somewhat grim. What, woman, should I know of him? And grumbling he went back to bed. Oh, woe is me, oh, woe is me, here will I die, here will I die. I thought to find my Johnny here, but he is neither far nor wide. Oh, what a wretched mother I! She stops, she stands, she looks about, which way to turn she cannot tell. Poor Betty, it would ease her pain, if she had heart to knock again. The clock strikes 3, a dismal knell. Then up along the town she hies, no wonder if her senses fail. This piteous news, so much it shocked her, she quite forgot to send the doctor, to comfort poor old Susan Gale. And now she's high upon the down, and she can see a mile of road. Oh cruel, I am almost 80, such night as this were ne'er before, there's not a single soul abroad. She listens, but she cannot hear the foot of horse, the voice of man, the streams with softest sound are flowing, the grass you almost hear it growing, you hear it now if e'er you can. The owlets through the long blue night are shouting to each other still, fond lovers yet not quite hobnob, they lengthen out the tremulous sob that echoes far from hill to hill. Poor Betty now has lost all hope, her thoughts are bent on deadly sin. A green ground pond she just has passed, and from the brink she hurries fast, lest she should drown herself therein. And now she sits her down and weeps, such tears she never shed before. Oh dear, dear pony, my sweet joy, oh carry back my idiot boy, and we will ne'er loathe thee more. A thought is come into her head. The pony, he is mild and good, and we have always used him well. Perhaps he's gone along the dell, and carried Johnny to the wood. Then up she springs as if on wings. She thinks no more of deadly sin. If Betty 50 ponds should see, the last of all her thoughts would be to drown herself therein. O reader, now that I might tell what Johnny and his horse are doing, what they've been doing all this time, oh could I put it into rhyme, a most delightful tale pursuing. And perhaps no unlikely thought he with his pony now doth roam the cliffs and peaks so high that are, to lay his hands upon a star, and in his pocket bring it home. Perhaps he's turned himself about, his face unto the horse's tail, and silent and mute in wondering loss, all like a silent horseman's ghost, he travels on along the vale. And now perhaps he's hunting sheep, a fierce and dreadful hunter he. Yon vale that's so trim and green, in 5 months' time should he be seen, a desert wilderness will be. Perhaps with head and heels on fire, and like the very soul of evil, he's galloping away, away, and so he'll gallop on for aye, the bane of all that dread the devil. I to these muses have been bound, these 14 years by strong indentures. O gentle muses, let me tell but half of what to him befell, for sure he met with strange adventures. O gentle muses, is this kind? Why will ye thus my suit repel? Why of your further aid bereave me? And can ye thus unfriended leave me? Ye muses, whom I love so well. Who's yon that near the waterfall, which thunders down with headlong force, beneath the moon yet shining fair, as careless as if nothing were, sits upright on a feeding horse? Unto his horse that's feeding free, he seems, I think, the rein to give. Of moon or stars he takes no heed, of such we in romances read. 'Tis Johnny, Johnny, as I live. And that's the very pony too. Where is she? Where is Betty Foy? She hardly can sustain her fears. The roaring waterfall she hears, and cannot find her idiot boy. Your pony's worth his weight in gold. Then calm your terrors, Betty Foy. She's coming from among the trees, and now all full in view she sees him whom she loves, her idiot boy. And Betty sees the pony too. Why stand you thus, good Betty Foy? It is no goblin, 'tis no ghost, 'tis he whom you so long have lost, he whom you love, your idiot boy. She looks again, her arms are up, she screams, she cannot move for joy. She darts as with a torrent's force, she almost has o'erturned the horse, and fast she holds her idiot boy. And Johnny burrs and laughs aloud, whether in cunning or in joy I cannot tell, but while he laughs, Betty a drunken pleasure quaffs, to hear again her idiot boy. And now she's at the pony's tail, and now she's at the pony's head, on that side now, and now on this, and almost stifled with her bliss, a few sad tears does Betty shed. She kisses o'er and o'er again him whom she loves, her idiot boy. She's happy here, she's happy there, she is uneasy everywhere, her limbs are all alive with joy. She pats the pony where and when, she knows not, happy Betty Foy. The little pony glad may be, but he is milder far than she, you hardly can perceive his joy. Oh Johnny, never mind the doctor, you've done your best, and that is all. She takes the reins when this was said, and gently turns the pony's head from the loud waterfall. By this the stars were almost gone, the moon was setting on the hill, so pale you scarcely looked at her. The little birds began to stir, though yet their tongues were still. Pony, Betty, and her boy wind slowly through the woody dale. And who is she betimes abroad, that hobbles up the steep rough road? Who is it but old Susan Gale? Long Susan lay deep lost in thought, and many dreadful fears beset her, both for her messenger and nurse, and as her mind grew worse and worse, her body it grew better. She turned, she tossed herself in bed, on all sides doubts and terrors met her, point after point did she discuss, and while her mind was fighting thus, her body still grew better. Alas, what is become of them? These fears can never be endured. I'll to the wood. The word scarce said, did Susan rise up from her bed, as if by magic cured. Away she posts up hill and down, and to the wood at length is come. She spies her friends, she shouts a greeting. Oh me, it is a merry meeting, as ever was in Christendom. The owls have hardly sung their last, while our four travellers homeward wend. The owls have hooted all night long, and with the owls began my song, and with the owls must end. For while they were travelling home, cried Betty, tell us, Johnny, do, where all this long night you have been, what you have heard, what you have seen, and Johnny, mind you tell us true. Now Johnny all night long had heard the owls in tuneful concert strive, no doubt too he the moon had seen, for in the moonlight he had been from 8 o'clock till 5. And thus to Betsy's question he made answer like a traveller bold, "These very words I give to you." The cocks did crow to woo, and the sun did shine so cold. Thus answered Johnny in his glory, and that was all his travels story. End of The Idiot Boy. Recording by Verity Kendall. Chapter 17 of Lyrical Ballads 1798 by Samuel Taylor Coleridge and William Wordsworth. This recording is in the public domain. Recording by Verity Kendall. Lines written near Richmond upon the Thames at evening. How rich the wave in front, impressed with evening twilight's summer hues, while facing thus the crimson west, the boat her silent path pursues. And see how dark the backward stream, a little moment past so smiling, and still perhaps with faithless gleam, some other loiterer beguiling. Such views the youthful bard allure, but heedless of the following gloom, he deems their colours shall endure, till peace go with him to the tomb. And let him nurse his fond deceit, and what if he must die in sorrow, who would not cherish dreams so sweet, though grief and pain may come tomorrow? Glide gently, thus forever glide, O Thames, that other bards may see as lovely visions by thy side, as now, fair river, come to me. O glide, fair stream, for ever so, thy quiet soul on all bestowing, till all our minds forever flow, as thy deep waters now are flowing. Vain thought, yet be as now thou art, that in thy waters may be seen the image of a poet's heart, how bright, how solemn, how serene. Such heart did once the poet bless, who pouring here a later ditty. Footnote 3. Collins's Ode on the Death of Thomson, the last written, I believe, of the poems which were published during his lifetime. This ode is also alluded to in the next stanza. End of footnote. Could find no refuge from distress, but in the milder grief of pity. Remembrance, as we glide along, for him suspend the dashing oar, and pray that never child of song may know his freezing sorrows more. How calm, how still, the only sound, the dripping of the oar suspended, the evening darkness gathers round, by virtue's holiness powers attended. End of lines written near Richmond upon the Thames at evening. Recording by Verity Kendall. Chapter 18 of Lyrical Ballads 1798 by Samuel Taylor Coleridge and William Wordsworth. This recording is in the public domain. Recording by Verity Kendall. Expostulation and Reply. Why, William, on that old grey stone, thus for the length of half a day? Why, William, sit you thus alone, and dream your time away? Where are your books, that light bequeathed to beings else forlorn and blind? Up, and drink the spirit breathed from dead men to their kind. You look round on your mother earth, as if she for no purpose bore you, as if you were her first born birth, and none had lived before you. One morning thus, by Esthwaite late, when life was sweet, I knew not why, to me my good friend Matthew spake, and thus I made reply. The eye it cannot choose but see, we cannot bid the ear be still, our bodies feel, where'er they be, against or with our will. Nor less I deem that there are powers, which of themselves our minds impress, that we can feed this mind of ours in a wise passiveness. Think you, mid all this mighty sum of things forever speaking, that nothing of itself will come, but we must still be seeking? Then ask not wherefore, here, alone, conversing as I may, I sit upon this old grey stone, and dream my time away. End of Expostulation and Reply. Recording by Verity Kendall. Chapter 19 of Lyrical Ballads 1798 by Samuel Taylor Coleridge and William Wordsworth. This recording is in the public domain. Recording by Verity Kendall. The tables turned, an evening scene on the same subject. Up, my friend, and clear your looks. Why all this toil and trouble? Up, my friend, and quit your books, or surely you'll grow double. The sun above the mountain's head, a freshening lustre mellow, through all the long green fields has spread his first sweet evening yellow. Books, 'tis a dull and endless strife. Come, hear the woodland linnet, how sweet his music, on my life, there's more of wisdom in it. And hark how blithe the throstle sings, and he is no mean preacher. Come forth into the light of things, let nature be your teacher. She has a world of ready wealth, our minds and hearts to bless, spontaneous wisdom breathed by health, truth breathed by cheerfulness. One impulse from a vernal wood may teach you more of man, of moral evil and of good, than all the sages can. Sweet is the law which nature brings, our meddling intellect misshapes the beauteous forms of things we murder to dissect. Enough of science and of art, close up these barren leaves. Come forth and bring with you a heart that watches and receives. End of Tables Turned, an Evening Scene on the same subject. Recording by Verity Kendall. Chapter 20 of Lyrical Ballads 1798 by Samuel Taylor Coleridge and William Wordsworth. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Recording by Verity Kendall. Old Man Travelling, Animal Tranquillity and Decay, a Sketch. The little hedgerow birds that peck along the road regard him not. He travels on, and in his face, his step, his gait is one expression, every limb, his look and bending figure, all bespeak a man who does not move with pain, but moves with thought. He is insensibly subdued to settled quiet. He is one by whom all effort seems forgotten, one to whom long patience has such mild composure given, that patience now doth seem a thing of which he hath no need. He is by nature led to peace so perfect, that the young behold with envy what the old man hardly feels. I asked him whither he was bound, and what the object of his journey. He replied, Sir, I am going many miles to take a last leave of my son, a mariner, who from a sea fight has been brought to Falmouth, and there is dying in an hospital. End of Old Man Travelling. Recording by Verity Kendall. Chapter 21 of Lyrical Ballads 1798 by Samuel Taylor Coleridge and William Wordsworth. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Recording by Verity Kendall. The Complaint of a Forsaken Indian Woman. When a northern Indian, from sickness, is unable to continue his journey with his companions, he is left behind, covered over with deerskins, and is supplied with water, food, and fuel if the situation of the place will afford it. He is informed of the track which his companions intend to pursue, and if he is unable to follow or overtake them, he perishes alone in the desert, unless he should have good fortune to fall in with some other tribe of Indians. It is unnecessary to add that females are equally, or still more, exposed to the same fate. See that very interesting work, Hearne's Journey from Hudson Bay to the Northern Ocean. When the northern lights, as the same writer informs us, vary their position in the air, they make a rustling and a crackling noise. This circumstance is alluded to in the first stanza of the following poem. Before I see another day, oh, let my body die away. In sleep I heard the northern gleams, the stars they were among my dreams. In sleep did I behold the skies, I saw the crackling flashes drive, and yet they are upon my eyes, and yet I am alive. Before I see another day, oh, let my body die away. My fire is dead, it knew no pain, yet it is dead, and I remain. All stiff with ice the ashes lie, and they are dead, and I will die. When I was well, I wished to live, for clothes, for warmth, for food and fire, but they to me no joy can give, no pleasure now, and no desire. Then here contented will I lie, alone I cannot fear to die. Alas, you might have dragged me on, another day, a single one! Too soon despair o'er me prevailed, too soon my heartless spirit failed. When you were gone, my limbs were stronger, and oh, how grievously I rue, that afterwards a little longer, my friends, I did not follow you. For strong and without pain I lay, my friends, when you were gone away. My child, they gave thee to another, a woman who was not thy mother. When from my arms my babe they took, on me how strangely did he look! Through his whole body something ran, a most strange something did I see, as if he strove to be a man, that he might pull the sledge for me. And then he stretched his arms, how wild! Oh mercy, like a little child! My joy, my pride, in 2 days more I must have died. Then do not weep and grieve for me. I feel I must have died with thee. O wind, that o'er my head art flying, the way my friends their course did bend, I should not feel the pain of dying, could I with thee a message send. Too soon, my friends, you went away, for I had many things to say. I'll follow you across the snow, you travel heavily and slow. In spite of all my weary pain, I'll look upon your tents again. My fire is dead and snowy white, the water which beside it stood. The wolf has come to me to-night, he has stolen away my food. For ever left alone am I, then wherefore should I fear to die? And my journey shall be shortly run, I shall not see another sun. I cannot lift my limbs to know if they have any life or no. My poor forsaken child, if I for once could have thee close to me, with happy heart I then would die, and my thoughts would happy be. I feel my body die away, I shall not see another day. End of The Complaint of a Forsaken Indian Woman. Recording by Verity Kendall. Chapter 22 of Lyrical Ballads 1798 by Samuel Taylor Coleridge and William Wordsworth. This recording is in the public domain. Recording by Verity Kendall. The Convict. The glory of evening was spread through the west. On the slope of the mountain I stood, while the joy that precedes the calm season of rest rang loud through the meadow and wood. And must we then part from a dwelling so fair? In the pain of my spirit I said, and with a deep sadness I turned to repair to the cell where the convict is laid. The thick-ribbed walls that o'ershadow the gate Resound, and the dungeons unfold. I pause, and at length through the glimmering grate That outcast of pity behold. His black matted head on his shoulder is bent, And deep is the sigh of his breath, And with steadfast dejection his eyes are intent On the fetters that link him to death. 'Tis sorrow enough on that visage to gaze, That body dismissed from his care, Yet my fancy has pierced to his heart and portrays More terrible images there. His bones are consumed, and his life blood is drained, With wishes surpassed to undo, And his crime, through the pains that o'erwhelm him, Still blackens and grows on his view. When from the dark synod, or blood-reeking field, To his chamber the monarch is led, All soothers of sense their soft virtue shall yield, And quietness pillow his head. But if grief, self-consumed, in oblivion would doze, And conscience her tortures appease, Mid tumult and uproar this man must repose In the comfortless vault of disease. When his fetters at night have so pressed on his limbs That the weight can no longer be borne, If while a half slumber his memory bedims, The wretch on his pallet should turn. While the gaol mastiff howls at the dull clanking chain, From the roots of his hair there shall start 1,000 sharp punctures of cold sweating pain, And terror shall leap at his heart. But now he half rises, his deep sunken eye, And the motion unsettles a tear. The silence of sorrow it seems to supply, And asks of me why I am here. Poor victim! no idle intruder has stood With o'erweening complacence our state to compare, But one whose first wish is the wish to be good, Is come as a brother thy sorrows to share. At thy name though compassion her nature resign, Though in virtue's proud mouth thy report be a stain, My care, if the arm of the mighty were mine, Would plant thee where yet thou mightst bloom again. End of The Convict. Recording by Verity Kendall. Chapter 23 of Lyrical Ballads 1798 by Samuel Taylor Coleridge and William Wordsworth. This recording is in the public domain. Recording by Verity Kendall. Lines written a few miles above Tintern Abbey on revisiting the banks of the Wye during a tour, July 13th, 1798. 5 years have passed, 5 summers with the length of 5 long winters, and again I hear these waters rolling from their mountain springs with a sweet inland murmur. Footnote 4. The river is not affected by the tides a few miles above Tintern. End of footnote. Once again do I behold these steep and lofty cliffs, which on a wild secluded scene impress thoughts of more deep seclusion, and connect the landscape with the quiet of the sky. The day is come when I again repose here under this dark sycamore, and view these plots of cottage ground, these orchard tufts, which at this season, with their unripe fruits among the woods and copses lose themselves, nor with their green and simple hue disturb the wild green landscape. Once again I see these hedgerows, hardly hedgerows, little lines of sportive wood run wild, these pastoral farms, green to the very door, and wreaths of smoke sent up in silence from among the trees, with some uncertain notice, as might seem, of vagrant dwellers in the houseless woods, or of some hermit's cave, where by his fire the hermit sits alone. Though absent long, these forms of beauty have not been to me as is a landscape to a blind man's eye, but oft in lonely rooms and mid the din of towns and cities I have owed to them, in hours of weariness, sensations sweet, felt in the blood and felt along the heart, and passing even into my purer mind with tranquil restoration. Feelings too of unremembered pleasure, such perhaps as may have had no trivial influence on that best portion of a good man's life, his little nameless unremembered acts of kindness and of love. Nor less, I trust, to them I may have owed another gift, of aspect more sublime, that blessed mood in which the burthen of the mystery, in which the heavy and weary weight of all this unintelligible world is lightened, that serene and blessed mood in which affections gently lead us on, until, the breath of this corporeal frame, and even the motion of our human blood almost suspended, we are laid asleep in body, and become a living soul, while with an eye made quiet by the power of harmony and the deep power of joy, we see into the life of things. If this be but a vain belief, yet, oh, how oft in darkness, and amid the many shapes of joyless daylight, when the fretful stir unprofitable, and the fear of the world, have hung upon the beatings of my heart, how oft in spirit have I turned to thee, O sylvan Wye! Thou wanderer through the woods, how often has my spirit turned to thee! And now with gleams of half-extinguished thought, with many recognitions dim and faint, and somewhat of sad perplexity, the picture of the mind revives again, while I stand here, not only with the sense of present pleasure, but with pleasing thoughts that in this moment there is life and food for future years. And so I dare to hope, though changed, no doubt, from what I was, when first I came among these hills, when like a roe I bounded o'er the mountains, by the sides of the deep rivers and lonely streams, wherever nature led, more like a man flying from something he dreads, than one who sought the thing he loved. For nature then, the coarser pleasures of my boyish days and their glad animal movements all gone by, to me was all in all. I cannot paint what then I was. The sounding cataract haunted me like a passion. The tall rock, the mountain, and the deep and gloomy wood, their colours and their forms, were then to me an appetite, a feeling and a love, that had no need of remoter charm, by thought supplied or any interest unborrowed from the eye. That time is past, and all its aching joys are now no more, and all its dizzy raptures. Not for this faint eye, nor mourn nor murmur, other gifts have followed, for such loss, I would believe, abundant recompense. For I have learned to look on nature, not as in the hour of thoughtless youth, but hearing oftentimes that still, sad music of humanity, not harsh nor grating, though of ample power to chasten and subdue. And I have felt a presence that disturbs me with the joy of elevated thoughts, a sense sublime of something far more deeply interfused, whose dwelling is the light of setting suns, and the round ocean, and the living air, and the blue sky, and in the mind of man, a motion and a spirit that impels all thinking things, all object of all thought, and rolls through all things. Therefore am I still a lover of the meadows and the woods and the mountains, and of all that we might behold from this green earth, of all the mighty world of eye and ear, both what they half create. Footnote 5. This line has a close resemblance to an admirable line of Young, the exact expression of which I cannot recollect. End of footnote. And what perceive, well pleased to recognize in nature and the language of the sense, the anchor of my purest thoughts, the nurse, the guide, the guardian of my heart, and soul of all my moral being. Nor perchance, if I were not thus taught, should I the more suffer my genial spirits to decay. For thou art with me, here, upon the banks of this fair river, thou, my dearest friend, my dear, dear friend, and in thy voice I catch the language of my former heart, and read my former pleasures in the shooting lights of thy wild eyes. Oh, yet a little while may I behold in thee what I was once, my dear, dear sister. And this prayer I make, knowing that nature never did betray the heart that loved her. 'Tis her privilege through all the years of this our life to lead from joy to joy, for she can so inform the mind that is within us, so impress with quietness and beauty, and so feed with lofty thoughts, that neither evil tongues, rash judgments, nor the sneers of selfish men, nor greetings where no kindness is, nor all the dreary intercourse of daily life, shall e'er prevail against us, or disturb our cheerful faith that all which we behold is full of blessings. Therefore let the moon shine on thee in thy solitary walk, and let the misty mountain winds be free to blow against thee. And in after years, when these wild ecstasies shall be matured into a sober pleasure, when thy mind shall be a mansion for all lovely forms, thy memory be a dwelling place for all sweet sounds and harmonies. Oh, then if solitude, or fear, or pain, or grief shall be thy portion, with what healing thoughts of tender joy wilt thou remember me, and these my exhortations! Nor perchance, if I shall be where I no more can hear thy voice, nor catch from thy wild eyes these gleams of past existence, wilt thou then forget that on the banks of this delightful stream we stood together, and that I, so long a worshipper of nature, hither came, unwearied in that service, rather say with warmer love, oh, with far deeper zeal of holier love. Nor wilt thou then forget that after many wanderings, many years of absence, these steep woods and lofty cliffs, and this green pastoral landscape were to me more dear both for themselves and for thy sake. End of lines written a few miles above Tintern Abbey. Recording by Verity Kendall. End of Lyrical Ballads 1798 by Samuel Taylor Coleridge and William Wordsworth.